Welcome to another video of the Vickers MG Collection and Research Association. Hopefully you're subscribed by now so you're able to get the notifications of when these are going live, and some of you will have become patrons as well, and I really appreciate that support because it gives us some really good baseline funding that covers our sort of everyday costs and then allows us to build new content, get new material for the website, and really just share as much as we can. This video I'm going to talk a little bit about what I promised to in the launch of the Vickers machine gun Pride of the MGs video that I did the other day. So the new edition of what was the Grand Old Lady in No Man's Land, an extra 270 pages. Dan Shea, Robert Segel and myself have contributed to Dolf's work there to make it a huge 840 pages book, over 3 kilos. I know some of the feedback already is that, whoa, the shipping cost is really quite expensive on that Kickstarter, but it's going to be a huge book and it's going around the world. So thank you for those that have signed up already, and please do sign up if you want to make sure that this project gets off the ground, because until that funding target's met, it's still it's not quite there yet. It's going to be $129.95 for the retail edition, but there are greater tiers and bonuses that you can get, and if the funding hits and exceeds that $50,000 target, then there'll be extra content in all of the books, not just those sort of exceptional ones. And you can read all about that and the timelines on the Kickstarter page. But in this video, I wanted to combine, obviously promoting that, it's really important at the moment, but also a little bit of a reflection for me. It's 25 years since I bought my first Vickers machine gun back in 1995, and I was just 12 years old by the time that arrived. So yeah, there you go, you worked out the age, my age anyway. Yeah, this has been very much the greater portion of my life. I've been collecting Vickers machine guns longer than I haven't, and I'm really pleased with the way the collection's come. But Dolf Goldsmith, the key author of the Grand Old Lady in No Man's Land, was actually really influential in the first few years. So I thought I'd dig back in our archive. You've got loads of archive boxes here of reflections on the collection itself, but also our manuals, handbooks, documents, other stuff that's been donated as well. So if you've got any Vickers MG related material, we've got this archive here that is gradually getting more and more exposure and researchers are using. So it's a great place to deposit some of that. But I went through that and I found the first letter that I wrote to Dolf and his response. And what had happened is my parents had bought me a copy of the Grand Old Lady in No Man's Land, this copy actually, for Christmas present in 1997. And, clearly £50 it was at the time, and it was bought from Aldershot Military Fair, because my mum used to have to take me. Like I say, I was, by the time I wrote to Dolf, I was 15. But so I was 14 years old and clearly not driving. Mum used to take me to the military affairs and was possibly a little bit better known than I was at some of those. But I used to spot things, and certainly that Christmas I think was a good one. Got me a Vickers machine gun book, the Grand Old Lady in No Man's Land, and I think I got a dial sight as well for 95 quid when prices were good. But Mum bought me this, gave it to me for Christmas, and you can see it's a well-thumbed copy. Actually, the dust jacket rarely stays on it. I've got it out for the last few videos. But then, my post-it notes of amendments and updates and what I've put together for the reprint, so you can see how extensive that I went into this. But I thought I'd just, read a couple of the letters, because I keep all my old correspondence, and this is one of those files. And it's sort of the written letters. So I wrote this Tuesday, 3rd of February, 1998. Dear Mr. Goldsmith, I was sending it to Collector Grade Publications, the only address I had for him. So I'm 15 years old, and was given your book, The Grand Old Lady in No Man's Land, the Vickers machine gun, as a Christmas present in 1997. I have my own deactivated Vickers Mark I machine gun and several accessories. Your book has been like a Bible to me, as it is to many people, I'm sure. Identifying a few Vickers accessories that I didn't know the correct nomenclature for and exactly what they were used for. It's also helped me in establishing the date and place of manufacture of my Vickers machine gun. As it happens, it was B1916, so a small arms factory Lithgow gun. No longer have it in the collection, sold it a few years after to fund some bigger purchases. So if anybody knows the existence of B1916, the whereabouts of it, please do get in touch. It's something we'd dearly like to have back in the collection. Anyway, so clearly I was already excited about the book, but then I put, in the accessories, ancillaries and ammunition section of your book, you refer to the tripod transit chest tripod 303-inch MG Mark 4B Mark 1, as being elusive and seldom encountered today. So being a young and very amateur enthusiast of the Vickers machine gun, I'm very happy that I actually have this piece of equipment in excellent condition. Some of you will know that Dolf's book, as I mentioned in the previous video, was written before the Australian reserve stocks were released, and most of those came to the UK in their transit chests, so they're not elusive anymore. I'd say probably British ones are. I can't think I've ever seen a British transit chest. They clearly existed, but not for every tripod. They were only issued for tripods that went overseas. So yeah, a bit of bonus information there for you. I'm attempting to write a book on the Vickers machine gun for the use of my close friends and family because of my grandfather's involvement with the Vickers machine gun during the Second World War. He was 7th Battalion Cheshire Regiment, attached to 5th Infantry Div. His influence is what really started me on the Vickers in the first place. So hopefully I'll pop a photo up and you can see him sat behind that in the Royal Marines Museum in Portsmouth. He disassembled that in June 1994, 50 years after last using a Vickers. I might eventually attempt to get it published, but it will never be up to the standard or detail of yours. At the moment, it's only 25 A4 pages, nowhere near your 568 A4 pages. It's actually legal. I didn't know the difference in paper sizes age 15. As a matter of interest, I would be very obliged if you'd inform me of approximately how long it took you to research the complete book. Any tips you could also give on writing a book about the Vickers would be greatly appreciated. Yours sincerely, Richard E. Fisher. I don't know why I've always used my middle initial. I have. Perhaps there's something about the Americanisms in there. So I sent that Tuesday, 3rd of Feb. Really enthusiastic. Never really published a book about my grandfather's time with the Vickers. Maybe one day. He died in 2000, so only a couple of years after this. And that last couple of years, I was at school. I was supposed to be being busy, not messing around with machine guns. But Dolf wrote back to me, April 15th, 1998, from Hong Kong. So he was obviously staying over there at the time. I've spoke to Dolf about this letter in the past, and it's one of those that you sort of vaguely remember some kid getting in touch, and he sort of talks to me about how he's putting together the Browning book at that point, and it's going to take him another 2 years. So 1998, so that Browning series of books. He first envisaged the Vickers and Maxim project in 1973. He planned to combine both weapons in one book, in as much as the Vickers was the outgrowth of the Maxim. The more I got into the research, the more material I got, and I found that I could not do justice to all the good material I had unless I did it in 2 books. This decision was first taken around 1977. I did the Maxim book first. This gun came first. Also, so I had more information on it than I did on the Vickers, at least initially. I collected information on and off until 1978 when I was in between jobs, and I spent 4 months in the UK to collect such information. There's much more there than in the US, where often such old materials tend to get thrown away. It was a very interesting 4 months, several weeks in the pattern room, also some time at the School of Infantry, Warminster, so that's the Small Arms School Corps Infantry Weapons Collection Trust, where I'm really honoured to be a trustee now. And the Royal Military College of Science, which I gather is near you. So that's what's now the Defence Academy, which is where I'm gainfully employed by Cranfield University. So, some really good links to some of this stuff. If you get a chance, you must visit it. Well, I do, most weeks, for work. Unfortunately, I do not know who is in charge there. So, Major Hobart gave me excellent help, but very unfortunately he passed away as a result of cancer soon after I was there. So, yeah, Hobart's book, 1971, many of you be familiar with. So, he sort of gives me a really good narrative. But what was much more important is actually he put me in touch with a couple of other individuals that would help me on my way. And I won't name them. I'll keep them anonymous in this case because, I'll keep one of them anonymous. The other one was a veteran, a guy called Rex Fendick. And Rex wrote his own memoir, The Can Loan Officer, or A Can Loan Officer, because he was a machine gun officer with the 2nd Battalion in Middlesex Regiment, which we've got a really close, not an affiliation, but certainly a deep interest in now. And some of the videos I use, 2nd Middlesex is a great example. Certainly the D-Day one I did, or Operation Overlord one I did recently, I use 2nd Middlesex as one of the case study units. And it's one of the units that when we get asked to represent a British Northwest Europe unit of the Second World War, then 2nd Middlesex is our go-to reference. It's interesting because he acknowledges the change in the chests as well. And I'm glad you have one of those chests. When I wrote the book, they were virtually hen's teeth or frog hairs. But in the last few years, some have surfaced. I believe they were in a warehouse in Australia, and they only saw the light of day very recently. Being so heavy, they could not have been popular. Without it, the tripod is heavy enough. In the chest, it must weigh well over 100 pounds. I don't know about the British Army, but in US service, such a heavy, but not terribly useful item would accidentally be run over by a truck, or requisitioned by the cook as fuel. There is a special canvas bag for the tripod of the US 1917 A1 Browning MG. This served very adequately. So, and he sends me best wishes in my endeavours, and he sent me some photos as well, which is great. But he also recommended that I visit the Ministry of Defence pattern room that was then at Nottingham and being run by Royal Ordnance. It was run by a guy called Herb Woodend, and most sort of weapons people will know of Herb. And the sort of story of my relationship with Dolf doesn't end there. I've got a couple more letters back and forth with him as well for a few months, sort of the rest of the year. And the last one was when he sort of sent me some more information in December of that year. And it wasn't until, I would say, probably 2001 that I met Dolf again, and in a very smoky room at the premises of ABI Militaria, so a company in the UK that many collectors from the early 2000s will be familiar with, run by a proper character called Doug Priest. And Doug was a great support to me as well. And he got in touch like literally of an afternoon. I just got home from school, I think. And because, college at that time. And so 16, still not driving. And he said, maybe a little bit older, forgive me. But he said, do you want to come up this evening to Tamworth? So hour and a half's drive. I said, well, I don't drive, Doug. So, okay, why? He said, because Dolf Goldsmith's going to be here. Do you want to meet him? And I said, absolutely. So mum and dad, really supportive of what I was doing, knew the correspondence, stuck me in a car, and I went off up to Tamworth. They pretty much shoved me through the door of this smoky room full of guns. And there was Dolf, myself, a couple of other guys, Herb Woodend, and we sort of just got stuck into Doug's stocks and spent 2 or 3 hours going through Vickers machine gun stuff, which was a brilliant experience to do so. I stayed in touch with Doug until he passed away. We saw a lot of each other. He would help me out with a lot of collecting. And I didn't really sort of stay in touch with Dolf that much, almost for another decade, when I'd been in touch with Robert, though, in between times. So I'd spoken to Robert a bit and sort of forged that friendship and relationship about collecting, mainly over the internet. Benefits of having a website online since 1998. So that was my proper geekdom in putting the first website online then. But I was doing a display at the War and Peace show in Kent, and it was a display with actually one of these two guns, First World War stuff, and Robert had come over, and we were there, First World War kit, and Robert started chatting, took some photos, etc. And that was a really quite popular one for photos, because Peter Doyle, author, also took a load of photos that year that have ended up in the British Tommy Haynes manual and a couple of his other books as well. But he said, do you want to come over to the restaurant tent, to the lunch tent, because Dolph's over there, come and have a chat. And that's the photo that is being used in the Kickstarter promo material. I then had the opportunity in following years to have Dolf, Robert, Dan all visit the collection here in Swindon, and that sort of brings it up to really when Dan then asked me to be involved in the project that we're promoting through Kickstarter at the moment. So over nearly 25 years to be able to go from you know, some scrappy correspondence about a Christmas present, you know, and to be able to get here, to be able to sit alongside those guys promoting that book, or the, you know, the reprint of this book's a really great experience, and I do hope you can get on board with that and support it through Kickstarter. I do hope as well that you can, you know, sort of understand the journey I've been on, and many of you will have come across me in the past. Some people I've met in recent years have turned around and went, oh, so are you the 15, 16-year-old that was rumoured about in the late 90s, early 2000s of being the Vickers sort of person that was going around shows? And it's true, yes, I was. I've now sort of grown into a bigger, not much, perhaps unhealthier, late 30s guy that still was as interested in the Vickers as he was then, and hopefully still as enthusiastic about it for many, many years. So I hope that's been interesting. Please do let me know your comments. Please let me know, you know, how perhaps if you met me, if you've met Dolf, you know, Robert or Dan, any of us, you know, do just let us know, because it's great to have this opportunity really to start to reflect on, you know, for me, 25 years of collecting, and I'll probably do another couple of videos in the future about that relationship with Rex Fendick, and some of the other books that influenced my thinking over the years and my interests. So, you know, please do let us know, you know, what your reflections of collecting are as well, and some are frustrating all the time, but certainly, you know, the good times outweigh the bad for this. So I hope you can, you know, use the Vickers machine gun, you know, Pride of the Emma-Gs, as an opportunity to perhaps look back over the, you know, the 25 years since that book's been published, and see what your collection's turned out like since then. So, you know, as always, thank you for watching. Please do subscribe. Click the buttons just after this. Listen to that little bit of exit video, and hopefully you'll be here when we share more in the future. Thank you. Thank you for watching. Please remember to like and share the video, and subscribe to the channel. Please support us on Patreon if you're able to, and let us know of anything you'd like to see in the future. I look forward to hearing from you.